Ni hao. We are a few days away from UFC Shanghai. Mingyang the Mager Zhang versus Johnny Walker. And guys, you may already think you know who I'm picking, but you don't. You have no idea who I'm picking to win this main event. I just have a feeling that, well, we'll get into it. But either way, big co-main event, Aljamain Sterling, former champ, taking on his former training partner, Brian Ortega. Sergei Pavlovich versus the baseball player, Waldo Cortes Acosta. This is actually kind of a sleeper card. There are some pretty solid fights on here. But before we get into this, I just wanted to say that I am planning on doing a video series for fitness and nutrition as an addition to the cookbook, as an addition to my lifting programs. I'm going to do like a master class on nutrition, Lucas Tracy style master class. There will be reaction videos, tier lists. I'll probably make a video on how I go about making my own training programs. So this would be for people that want more than just the cookbook, that want more than just the lifting programs. And again, I know some people swear by them. I've had people tell me that they've packed up and left society because all they needed were those programs. But either way, there's going to be a little bit of an addition to those. So I'm planning on doing like a 1 or 2 month members section for this channel. So again, I am working on that and that will be coming soon. But without further ado, let's get into these predictions. Uran Satybaldiev. Uran Satybaldiev. That's literally like that's like a meme name for someone that's bald and like has a pouting face. Uran Satybaldiev is not actually bald, but he does have a bit of a pouty face. And he's taken on Diyar Nurgozhay. Is this not the guy that got like destroyed on the Contender Series or something? Or maybe that's someone else, but I know he's from Kazakhstan. I know this guy got beat in his debut, right? I don't know if I can pick a guy with the name Uran Satybaldiev. It's actually not Satybaldiev. I just realized there's no L there. Uran Satybaldiev. I'm going to go with Diyar Nurgozhay. I'm going with Diyar Nurgozhay, man. I'm sorry, dude. I just can't pick. Unless Satybaldiev goes out there and looks like a future world champ, I just can't pick him to win this fight. All right, let's get on to the next one. Zhao Long versus Suyoung Yu. Suyoung Yu. Not Suyoung Mi. Suyoung Yu is going to win this fight. I'm actually picking him to get this one done. Broke it down on the boxing channel. X's nose, coming off the road to the UFC.
He's got a nice leg kick, nice inside low kick. He's got a nice double jab, crispy sweet pea special. Zhao Long, we know the deal. Wrestling, grappling, striking, double threat.
I'm not going to sit here and act like I know anything about this fight. And I'm not going to fucking sit there and act like I'm a casual for not knowing, okay? Like, straight up, there are going to be some people in the comments that are saying, wow, bro, didn't do his fucking due diligence, man. Sorry. I'm sorry that I have not spent days in the war room watching Suyoung Yu fights and Zhao Liang fights. Now, again, I looked at the records. I looked at the records, man. I know Zhao Long has taken a loss in the UFC. Suyoung Yu, he's got a win in the UFC. Both guys, former road to UFC fighters. I'm going with Suyoung Yu. But listen, from here on out, these picks matter. And starting now, actually take what I have to say serious. I'm going with Yizha over Westin Wilson. I can't pick Westin Wilson to win a fight. Listen, all you got to know about this, you don't need to know much about Yizha. You need to know about Westin Wilson. Westin Wilson may be the worst fighter in the UFC. He may be the least durable, least dangerous, least threatening fighter in the UFC. He is sort of known for getting just destroyed in every single one of his fights. You should expect him to get absolutely destroyed in this one too, okay? There doesn't need to be any more said about it. Yizha, 25-5 record. The guy's experienced. He knows what he's doing. Westin Wilson doesn't have durability, doesn't have power, doesn't have a lot of speed. I don't need to say any more, okay? I don't need to see any more. Michel Pereira versus Kyle Daukaus. The return of the Daukaus bros, although it's only one. This is a really, really tough fight to go back into after being cut from the UFC. Sort of reminds me of Kevin Lee being given Rinat Fakhretdinov after taking a long hiatus. The UFC really doesn't reward long hiatuses, or they don't reward people getting cut, even if they work their way back up. I mean, who was that fighter that, outside of the Jeremy Stevens fight with, I forget the guy's name, Mason something, that was like a pretty good fight for him. But there was another fight as well. I think it was Chris Moutinho, got cut from the UFC, came back to fight Malcolm Wellmaker. This just reminds me of that. Michel Pereira should go in here and absolutely dust Kyle Daukaus. I mean, he really should. I mean, think about it. The last Kyle Daukaus victory I can even think back to was like a no contest against Kevin Holland due to a headbutt. I don't know. Not a headbutt, but a head clash. I understand we have thoughts of Michel Pereira gassing out against Anthony Hernandez, but it's Anthony Hernandez, okay? Kyle Daukaus is not going to push a crazy pace. I think he goes into this fight on survival mode early on, but the thing is, I think you have to have some grit, you have to have some durability, and you actually have to move forward and push a bit of a pace in order to beat Michel Pereira. And you may think that, well, if I go in survival mode and get past the first round, I have a chance to win this. It's only a 3-rounder. I think that if you put up no resistance early against Michel Pereira, he has no reason to respect you, and he just will dust you up. He's faster, bigger, stronger, hits harder. He's more lethal. And now that he's at middleweight, sure, the gas tank is not that good, but again, like former welterweight skill. I know Kyle Daukaus, I feel like at one point he fought at welterweight too, but I have to go with Michel Pereira, all right? Losing to Anthony Hernandez is one thing. He's not losing to Kyle Daukaus. Remember, people were picking Michel Pereira to beat Anthony Hernandez. All right, he was on a tear in the middleweight division before that fight. He should win this. Let's get on to the next one. Rongzhu versus Austin Hubbard. I'm picking Rongzhu. Rongzhu had a really impressive performance against Cody Steele. It was kind of a war, but Cody Steele had a lot of hype going into that, known for his knockout power, and Rongzhu just sort of out-dogged him, out-volumed him, out-techniqued him. I really like Rongzhu's style. Austin Hubbard, he's a bit of a tricky customer. Of course, he's from one of those weird seasons of Tough. I think it was like that McGregor-Chandler season of Tough. He's had a lot of fights since then, but again, nothing that impressive from Austin Hubbard. That's the difference here. I feel like Rongzhu, super tough, durable. I think you're going to need to hit a little harder than Austin mediocre power Hubbard. And there's just nothing that Austin Hubbard does that's that great, that stands out the board that much, stands off the board. I mean, maybe he can pull out some takedowns, but ultimately I see Rongzhu knocking him out. I see Rongzhu just being faster, grittier, hitting harder. I think he's going to win this fight by KO. Austin Hubbard, he's going to take out the fighters that have the UFC octagon jitters, making their debuts that aren't that good, but I can't pick him to win this. Or he's going to take out old, withered UFC vets, but that is not Rongzhu. So I'm going with Rongzhu by KO. This is an interesting fight. Charles Johnson versus Loner Kavanagh. I'm going with Charles Johnson, all right? I think that Loner Kavanagh is really good, and I think he is very well-rounded. He's fast on the feet, although, let's be honest, he's not super dangerous on the feet. He hasn't really shown me anything that makes me think like, oh, no, I'm kind of worried for his opponents, although he is fast. To be honest, his grappling is pretty good. His ground and pound is good. He's very well-rounded, promising prospect, but I think this is a bit too much too soon. Charles Johnson beating Joshua Van. I think this is a very similar matchup. Great cardio, reach advantage, range advantage. He has the output. He has the speed, has decent grappling defense. And I just don't think that Loner Kavanagh goes out there and totally outgrapples Charles Johnson, the vet, easily for 3 rounds, which is kind of what I think he needs to do. Like, sure, he can have some success on the feet, but I think Charles Johnson is going to sun him a bit on the feet. I think that, again, this is a little bit too much too soon. Charles Johnson, he's a bit of an unassuming guy at the flyweight division, but he just does have that ability to fuck up these prospects when they're taking a big leap up in competition. So, yeah, I mean, let's think 3-inch height advantage, 3-inch reach advantage. He's got a leg reach advantage. He's got every advantage physically that you could think of pretty much. He's got the experience advantage. And if Loner Kavanagh loses this one, I don't think that speaks to him being a fraud, by the way. I just think it's, again, a little bit too much too soon. I think he can improve. I think this is the kind of fight where he could take a loss and he can learn from it. And this is not going to change my opinion of him. But I do think Charles Johnson wins this experience. I think it's going to be, for the most part, a striking battle. And I just don't think Loner Kavanagh's grappling is dominant enough for me to pick him to win this fight by, again, like wrestling for 3 rounds. So let's get on to Maheshate versus Gao Jiang. Gao Jiang made his UFC debut. Who was it against? It was against that the guy that sort of has like a very kick-heavy style. I forget his name. To be honest, he didn't look that good in his UFC debut. He didn't look that great. I'm going to go with Maheshate, dude. Maheshate, man, he's got the freaking aura of having been in a war, man. I'm going with Maheshate, man. Let's get on to the next one. Let's just try to move past that one. Let's just try to move past that one as fast as possible. All right. Let's just forget about that. Taiyilake Nueraji versus Kiefer Crosbie. This is interesting. Kiefer Crosbie, he's rocking the frog physique, pulling up the shorts looking like DC, versus Taiyilake Nueraji, who is a pretty big favorite, minus 425 over Kiefer Crosbie. Kiefer Crosbie, I think he's honestly a decent underdog pick. I mean, he's only lost to really solid fighters. He lost to Sam Patterson. He lost to Kevin Jusay. I'm going to go with Kiefer Crosbie. I have to pick him to win this. I think that these odds, they're picking against Kiefer because he's lost to really good fighters, but I do not think that Nueraji is on the same level as Kevin Jusay. I don't think he's on the same level as... I don't think he's on the same level as... What's his name? Forget the guy's name. Sam Patterson. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Kiefer Crosbie. I'm picking him by gritty man's toughness. All right. Let's get on to Sumudaerji versus Kevin Borjas. I'm picking Kevin Borjas. I'm sorry, Sumudaerji. I think of him getting fucking absolutely destroyed after doing some good work early on against Matt Schnell. Okay? But, like, Sumudaerji doesn't actually look that great in his fights. He's got a very mediocre game, and I like Kevin Borjas' power. I like his speed. In hindsight, him kind of hanging in there a bit against Joshua Van is kind of a good look. I know he got hit with, like, 500 body strikes against Joshua Van. Joshua Van broke, like, a record for total strikes to the body, significant strikes to the body, I think, in a 3-rounder at least in that fight. But Kevin Borjas dropped Joshua Van. I like his power. Sumudaerji, he's a bit chinny. I'm going to go with Kevin Borjas to win this. All right. And we get on to the big fights. Sergei Pavlovich versus Waldo Cortes Acosta. I kind of want to have a Hail Mary pick on this one, guys. Sergei Pavlovich should win this if he goes in there fighting like he did against Derek Lewis and Curtis Blades. But in hindsight, man, Curtis Blades is not that good. I know Sergei Pavlovich chinned him, but dude, after seeing Curtis Blades fight Rizvan Kuniev and looking very mid, and I think Rizvan should have won that fight, Waldo Cortes Acosta beating Sergei Spivak by decision, doing all right in the grappling in that fight, knocking out former light heavyweight Ryan Spann. I think if this goes the distance, Waldo Cortes Acosta wins. And I'm very worried for Sergei Pavlovich because he really looked timid in his last fight against Jairzinho Rozenstruik. And there were a lot of questions about how he was going to hold up after that brutal KO loss to Tom Aspinall. And his fight immediately after against Volkov, he looked terrible. Now, to be fair, part of that is because Volkov is an exceptional striker and he's one of the best heavyweight strikers ever, and I think he's levels above Waldo Cortes Acosta. I think he would finish Waldo Cortes Acosta. But after that, Sergei Pavlovich literally just looked like a shell of his former self, like a husk. Right? Against Volkov, I think he just got outskilled. Got frustrated, got outskilled. I don't think that's him looking like a husk, him not being confident. In his last outing, and I understand Rozenstruik, very powerful. You got to respect his power, but like, I don't know, man. The Sergei Pavlovich that fought Derek Lewis, the Sergei Pavlovich that went in there against Curtis Blades, the guy that knocked out, what's his name, Tai Tuivasa, I feel like he easily bulldozes Jairzinho Rozenstruik. And we saw Sergei Pavlovich have like an ole, ole, ole fest where he even shot a takedown in the third round. And I know some people are going to say, well, he showed some other chinks to his game. He has got another tool in his tool bag. I don't know. I looked at that fight as like a fucking defeat, almost. Even though he won, it was a big nothing fight. And Waldo Cortes Acosta, he's just so unassuming. He's faster than everyone expects him to be. He's got good footwork. Even though he doesn't have one-hitter-quitter power, and he can't slug with Sergei Pavlovich, he's slick. He's athletic. I mean, he didn't make it to the majors, but you don't make it to professional baseball level unless you're an athlete. And we see with his leg kicks, with his footwork, with his speed, he's athletic for the heavyweight division. He's not super dangerous. He's not big, but I don't know. I could just see Sergei Pavlovich going in there and being like super patient, like he was against Rozenstruik. Maybe his coaches told him, no, that was really good. We got to be patient from now on. And now he's just going to come out patient, and he thinks that that's like higher level because it's just, if you're doing less, you're doing more, right? I don't know, boring fights equal more skilled, essentially. I could just see Waldo Cortes Acosta. If Sergei Pavlovich doesn't try to go out there and slug for the fences early, which is what he should do, because that's what makes him an effective fighter, and he's super tough, so he is able to get hit by your punch to land his own, and he's got a really long reach, and he can hit you before you hit him. And unless it's against a killer like Tom Aspinall, it's going to basically work every single time, unless you're like, Volkov level of skill, Tom Aspinall, whatever. Maybe gone. I don't think Sergei Pavlovich goes out there with his usual approach. I think he goes out there with the new approach. I'm going to pick Waldo Cortes Acosta. I know this is a Hail Mary pick. I know this is me trying to, I'm probably going to be wrong, but it would be cool to be right on this. It's just a vibe thing. I got to admit it. I am telling you that Sergei Pavlovich is capable of winning this, and if he fights and imposes his will like a madman early, I think he will win this. So I don't want to hear anyone coming back and clowning me, bro really picked Waldo Cortes Acosta. Wow, bro. Like, I know Sergei Pavlovich can win this fight. I totally think he can. And I think if both guys impose their will, Sergei Pavlovich wins every time. But I don't know. I'm worried. And his last couple performances, he's looked timid. He's looked mentally defeated almost. And I don't think he's got that confidence anymore. Now, maybe he gains it back, and maybe now that he's not fighting a really, dangerous heavyweight, he's not going to give him any respect. But I'm going with Waldo. I'm going with the underdog. I am going to make the hot take. I am going to have that prediction. It's a Hail Mary. I'm hoping it sticks, but I think he's going to get it done. I think I could just totally see this being a frustrating fight where people are raging, I'm raging while watching it. And after the fight, we're all just like, wow, what happened to Sergei Pavlovich? Biggest fall off ever. And it may take one of these timid losses again for him to wake back up. And if you were to tell me a couple of years ago that I'd be picking Waldo Cortes Acosta to beat Sergei, I wouldn't believe you, but I am. I'm picking Waldo. I think his footwork is slick. I think he's fast. I think his output's there. And you know what? I think he can mix in the takedowns. We saw him do it to Rebellis to Spain, and I know that Sergei Pavlovich has improved this takedown defense. Stuffed a couple of those plotty takedowns against Curtis Blades. But I think Waldo Cortes Acosta has got good volume, good speed, slick footwork for a heavyweight at least. I think that he will mix in the takedowns at the right times. I think he will shoot them when Sergei least expects them. And I think they'll be athletic. And I think that if I'm Waldo, if I'm his team, I'm looking at Sergei Pavlovich and I'm saying, man, we got to take this guy down. He's similar to Rebellis in the fact that he's super dangerous early and he can knock you out really quickly. Well, we got to shoot takedowns. And I've seen him do it before. I'm picking Waldo Cortes Acosta by being slicker on the feet, landing leg kicks, a whole lot of them, against Sergei Pavlovich's heavy boxing stance. And I think he's going to get himself a couple of takedowns. And nonetheless, don't be surprised if Sergei Pavlovich goes out there and brutally KOs him. I want Sergei Pavlovich to win. Okay, I'm rooting for Pavlovich. I want him to get the KO. I don't know. Something tells me we're all going to be disappointed, and I have to go with my gut feeling on this one. All right? Again, I know he's capable of winning, but I got to go with my gut feeling. I genuinely think that when it's all said and done this weekend, Sergei Pavlovich will be on a 3-fight losing skid. All right, let's get on to the next one. Pains me to make that prediction, but I got to trust my gut, guys. Brian Ortega versus Aljamain Sterling. This is easy. I'm going with Aljamain Sterling. All right? Listen, I can't pick Brian Ortega to out-grapple and submit someone that isn't like sort of a victim on the ground in a way. Like he did it to Yair Rodriguez. He's not doing it to Aljamain Sterling. Part of that is because Brian Ortega doesn't have a very explosive, strong man's grappling game. He's sort of got that latch onto a submission, but that's kind of it. And sure, he's kind of underrated and getting you down and working from point A to point B. I think his takedowns are actually kind of underrated, but against a strong, fast, former bantamweight, skilled, former champ Aljamain Sterling, I don't think he's going to be able to take him down, work from point A to point B. And I don't think he's going to have the strength, the physicality, the athleticism to win the scrambles either. I saw Aljamain Sterling take down Movsar Evloev with slick, speedy Gonzalez takedowns. I saw Aljamain Sterling scramble with the bigger, stronger, athletic grappler in Movsar Evloev. And I know Ortega's skilled with his submissions, but I think Aljamain Sterling is crafty enough not to get submitted. I think his wrestling game is good enough to win the scrambles and be able to be safe in the grappling by getting dominant position and wounding up in positions where he's not at risk in harm's way. And I think Aljamain Sterling is going to win this 5-rounder, by the way, which is kind of crazy. Aljamain's not happy about that. He was saying, why are we doing this? We're getting paid the same amount for this 5-rounder as we would for a 3-rounder. I mean, if we're getting paid the same amount, like why? He's alluded to maybe Ortega wanting this because maybe he thinks he has a big cardio advantage. But either way, Aljamain's got a good gas tank. And I also think his striking is actually underrated. I think Aljo's striking, again, he's constantly being sort of discredited for his striking because he's fighting guys that are amazing strikers. Okay, now obviously that's not been a factor in his last couple of fights because there's been like basically 90% grappling. But people say Aljo's striking is shit because of the guys he's fought. Peter Yan, Sean O'Malley. Aljamain Sterling has consistently fought like the best strikers. This guy outstruck Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo is a predominant striker in MMA. That is what got Henry Cejudo a UFC championship win. Multiple of them. His striking. Aljamain Sterling outstruck Henry Cejudo to win a title fight. I guarantee you he's going to be just fine in this when it comes to the striking. I think he's going to have a speed advantage. He's got the funky, crafty game. He can do a lot on the feet. Again, there's not like a specific rhythm, and that's why he's kind of decent on the feet because he just throws things out there. But because he's fast, because he's got a pretty good kicking game, he can mix it up pretty well, keep you out at range. He can bide time on the feet while outlanding you. So I think we see a lot of kicks from Aljo. I think we see some crafty elbows against Brian Ortega. And again, ultimately, Ortega, he's just had a ton of injuries throughout his career. You look at his physique, he sort of looks like a bag of milk. Aljamain Sterling, even though he's getting up there in age, it's like, you know, he's still very strong. He obviously takes his career. I'm not saying Ortega doesn't take his career serious, but he just doesn't look like a great athlete. Aljamain Sterling is shredded. First fight at featherweight, he looked a little bit bloated. He looked shredded. Okay? And if he's strong enough to out-scramble Evloev in moments, he's going to dominate in moments on the ground against Ortega. So I think Ortega's a great grappler. I'm really looking forward to seeing the grappling exchanges. I think Ortega could get a submission. It's possible. But I think that Aljamain Sterling is one of the best grapplers in the UFC. And this is the rare case where I'm going to say Ortega doesn't have a grappling advantage. Okay? This is the rare case. I think Ortega is more dangerous on the ground, but I think Aljo, his wrestling is better, and I think the wrestling advantage is big in this one when it comes to two grapplers, because Aljo, he's not just a wrestler. He's also great jiu-jitsu. So if you have great jiu-jitsu as well, but you're also the much better wrestler, I think you win the grappling exchanges, okay? Because I think you get in the dominant positions where you're more safe. And again, the striking, Ortega, he's capable of landing a couple of big shots upstairs. Of course, he's not going to get KO'd by Aljo. Aljo's got pillow hands. He's got pillow kicks. Maybe Ortega, because he doesn't have to respect the power coming back in his direction, is sort of not going to give Aljo any respect. But I think Ortega's a little bit too flat-footed, a little bit too plotty for me to expect Aljo to just allow Ortega to sort of tee off on him and get his rhythm going with the boxing. I think that by the time Ortega starts feeling comfortable in exchanges, that's when Aljo level changes. That's when Aljo will mix it up. And ultimately, Aljo's just better at mixing it up. He's so good at mixing in the striking, the kicks, with the elbows in close quarters, ducking underneath punches to get to takedowns, getting the body lock up against the fence. I think Aljo is the better fighter. Lighter man skill, former champion, caliber, well-rounded, underrated on the feet. Not dangerous on the feet, but good enough to make things happen with a speed advantage and a kicking game. Ortega doesn't have a kicking game. He kind of does, but not really. So I'm going with Aljo. I'm going to pick Aljamain Sterling by a 49-46. I think this is going to be pretty dominant. Maybe Ortega wins a round, getting some moments on the ground. I feel like at some point Ortega will win an exchange and get in a dominant position and threaten submissions. Maybe gets close to one, but Aljo survives. That's the way I see him winning a round, or maybe he wins a round off damage, maybe in like the fourth, right? Something like that. Ortega's always doing pretty well towards the end of a fight, but I think Aljo's just better, just more skilled, so I have to pick him. I think he's better on the feet, and I think he's better on the ground. Also, Ortega's just declined a little bit. I know he beat Yair, and that was a pretty good win, but again, that's like the perfect stylistic matchup for him for if he gets someone down. But against these super well-rounded former championship caliber fighters, I have to pick against him. So let's get on to Johnny Walker versus Zhang Mingyang. I just got to go with Walker, man. I just have to pick Walker. I just have a feeling he gets this one done by flying knee. First round, you know he can knock out an elephant lad. I'm joking. Zhang Mingyang is going to knock Johnny Walker out so easily in this fight. This is how I see the fight going. Bell rings. Johnny Walker goes out there, throws a jumping front kick to the body, some sort of a jumping technique. I think he throws a big man's, explosive man's flying knee or spinning back fist in the first 20 seconds to get like a ooh and an ah from the crowd, like a whoa. Okay? Think like Yoel Romero's spinning back fist against Robert Whittaker in the first round of their rematch at the end of round one, where everyone was like, whoa, whoa. Whittaker just got out the way. Zhang Mingyang knows that Johnny Walker's a glass cannon, and he knows that all he needs to do is be patient, keep a high guard, and just don't get hit by some goofy shit early. Just bide your time, because ultimately, when you get past the fluff, when you get past the flying knees, when you get past the jumping scissor kicks, when you get past the spinning back fist, Johnny Walker has nothing to offer when it comes to straight boxing or straight normal kickboxing. And Zhang Mingyang is going to bide his time. He's going to be patient. He's going to maybe throw a couple of calf kicks. He's not going to throw any punches early. He's going to stay there with the high guard. He's just going to wait. He's just going to wait. And Walker, this is not the Walker of old before he got knocked out by Anderson, super confident to just bulldoze people. Walker, he'll throw a bunch of crazy shit, but he'll throw it with a lot of respect. Like, he'll throw it, but it'll be a couple of feet away from you, you know? It's like a WMMA fighter that are throwing haymakers from 15 feet away. Walker still throws his haymakers, but he's every single fight, he's like a couple inches further away from his opponent when he throws them. Because he's like, damn, I don't want to get caught with anything. I don't want to get countered, because he knows how easily he can get KO'd. So I think Johnny Walker throws a couple of flying knees, couple of spinning back fists, couple of crazy techniques, first couple of minutes, doesn't land any of them. Maybe lands one on the guard. And I think Zhang Mingyang catches him with a right hand and knocks him out. All right, 3 minutes in, 4 minutes in, big right hand, Zhang Mingyang on the chin of Johnny Walker, putting him down, couple of follow-up shots, runs away, jumps on the cage, celebrates in front of the Chinese crowd. Zhang Mingyang by KO. I don't need to say anything else, really. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time.